Okay, we said we weren't going to spend a lot of time, and we're not on the Keebler L's. We did have Caroline Wren check in the last hour, and there's no buzz. So here's what's the marching orders tonight. Grace and Captain Bannon and Jane, we're going to have up streaming coverage of the Tucker Carlson interview. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's 8:55. It starts at 8:55 Eastern Daylight Time. So make sure everybody jumps in. I think that's right before the Keebler Elves come on their stage. It's very important tonight to make sure that send a message to Rupert Murdoch that there's no viewership, because all he cares about is money and power, and not the state of the country. Because, did I ever mention this? He's a foreigner. So that's that. We got a lot to get through. A lot of folks. In fact, Chadwick Moore is going to join us towards the end of the show to talk about Tucker and this whole thing set up, because I think it's terrific tonight. Because Tucker's doing this. I've been a big advocate of the president not going, obviously, you guys know that, and a big advocate of Tucker doing something that would be really serious, because the crises that are hitting us nonstop have got to be sorted out. It's kind of interesting. I would say ironic, but maybe it's not. Catherine Engelbrecht and Gregg Phillips, the great warriors and patriots, have been fighting election fraud in the stolen 2020 election and much more. Catherine's been doing this. Heck, I met her, in the Tea Party days back in 2010 when she was fighting it down. I think the King Street Patriots is where it started, when True the Vote came out of that. And she's been fighting this for a long time. Catherine, I've got Berquam and all the A-team medias in Atlanta, the B or C teams in Milwaukee, the A teams there. They got all the top correspondents. Why? This is what I can't figure out. How did you end up in Atlanta tonight? Why are we talking to you from Atlanta, Georgia, ma'am?
Well, because at the same time that President Trump will be arraigned tomorrow, we will be in federal court over a lawsuit involving the movie 2000 and Mules. So, as luck would have it, here we are.
Well, I don't think that's luck. Is that providential? Seriously, you can't. By the way, if we were scriptwriters and pitched that as part of this overall drama, and Greg and Catherine are going to be there at the same time Trump is in the same federal court, that's where you get thrown out of the room. I mean, what are the odds of this? You're there for which. By the way, so here's the key: is that Catherine and Gregg. There's other people too coming from other directions, but they basically have the receipts of how Georgia was stolen. This shows you what a sham this thing with Trump is. They actually have the receipts. Of course, Bill Barr says they have nothing, but that even reinforces the fact you've got a lot. Talk to me. What do you say, federal court? What are you guys doing tomorrow, Catherine?
Tomorrow is a hearing in the case where we will have the opportunity to present a motion to dismiss. And we'll see how it goes. Both sides get to argue, and we're about 3-4 blocks away from where it'll all be happening with the president, and it should be one for the history books.
Gregg, you guys have sent us some material. I think Memphis, so you can put it up. The question I just have to you, because the whole world is going to be watching tomorrow in Atlanta with President Trump now, I think up to 91 indictments and 700 years in prison. Is there any doubt in your mind, and do you believe you have the evidence you can show the American people that the election in Georgia was stolen, sir?
Yes. President Trump was right. Catherine spent she's been, most people don't know this about Catherine, but she's a perfectionist. And so as we're approaching all of our research and all of the things we do, Catherine, insists on, her mantra with us is, you can't be wrong. You can't be wrong. You can't be wrong. And with everything that's been going on for the last couple of years, we finally sat down after the Trump indictments here last week or so. Last Friday, we finally sat down for 3 days in a row and really built the timeline around this. And what we found was so shocking and so stunning. We announced parts of it on Catherine's show on Monday night. And we just wanted to get with you, Steve, and really walk you through the heart. When we say President Trump was right, what I'm saying is he had the courage and the discernment to understand that he shouldn't be listening to the Bill Barrs of the world, the Brad Raffenspergers of the world, and all of these folks. And he was listening to people. We look back at the transcripts of that call, and we see some specific and absolute lies that were told to him. But he stood up. He stood strong, and he stood up tall for not just himself and his administration, but for America and the people.
Could you take a minute? Could you walk us through just maybe an outline of the timeline, what you're talking about? Because here's what's ironic or providential. You guys are in federal court, and you have the receipts to show that the Georgia election was stolen. And here we have a guy who was president of the United States and will be president of the United States again, being arraigned basically next door in that federal court for the crime of contesting that election. That's what's so bizarre about this. And quite frankly, it has to be providential you're there. So just when you say the discernment in the timeline, can you just walk us through a couple of key items?
Catherine, why don't you take a shot at this? This is
sure.
This is your story.
Sure. Well, most people don't necessarily know this, but Georgia hadn't cleaned its voter rolls in over a year coming into the 2020 election. That's because in 2019, Fair Fight, which is Stacey Abrams and Mark Elias, sued the state of Georgia to prevent them from cleaning their rolls. That case went on in federal court through the spring of 2021. And during that entire period of time, the state did not clean the voter rolls. And so in the aftermath of 2020, we were being inundated with calls from Georgians saying, the runoff is coming up. Is there anything we can do? The rolls were such a problem. The bringing in of proper electors was so problematic in the general. Is there anything we can do to make sure that this is a better process in the runoff? And so we dove into Georgia law and realized that, in fact, there is a provision in state code called an elector challenge. And the long and the short of it is, we went through the voter rolls and we recognized that just based on residency, there were 364,000 ineligible voter records. So with that as a premise, I went to go and meet with Secretary Raffensperger. And here's where things get interesting, because he had already certified the election November 20th. I went and met with him December the 16th. And in that meeting was Secretary Raffensperger and many of his staff and others. And we talked about what True the Vote was helping Georgia citizens do by way of filing these elector challenges. And I said, this is a huge number, and it's going to leave a mark. And I'm just letting everybody know it's coming. And Secretary Raffensperger, I'll never forget it, pulled out a piece of paper, kind of back on the napkin, did a little bit of quick math and said, 364,000, about 14% of Americans move every year. We haven't been able to clean the rolls because of this lawsuit. So that sounds about right. That's about how many ineligible records there are. But what they didn't do in certifying and recertifying and all of the audits and all of the things, all of the great efforts that they say they went through, they never went back to look and see how those 364,000 ineligible voters voted. And so now what we know is that 67,000 of them did vote. Flash forward, he's on that call, the fateful call between Secretary Raffensperger and President Trump and others on January the 2nd. And on that call, he knew, because we had just had the meeting 2 weeks previous, he had already affirmed our methodology, affirmed our numbers. And Steve, what's more, told me, sounds about right. The GOP should have been doing this all along. So it was a cover-up. And when he got on that call...
But hang on one second. Hang on. Before you get there, I got the 364, and he concurred with that. How did you get to the 67,000 of the that is the don't bury the lead here, baby. How did you get the 67,000 of the 364 that actually voted?
Sure, you pull the voter histories and you see who voted in 2020. That's who voted. I mean, you can look at the records that were still on the rolls that were ineligible, and you will see just how it breaks out. Some 47,000 of them were outside of their jurisdiction. over 16,000 of them had already moved out of the state. Over 8,000 of them were totally inactive. It's all there. I mean, if they had been good stewards of the rolls, they would have seen that themselves. But they were so quick to obfuscate and say it was all a big lie, rather than looking at what had happened in the 2 years that they hadn't cleaned the rolls. And they should have looked.
They lied to Trump, Steve. They lied to everybody. They lied to America. They lied to Georgians. They lied to everybody. 67,284 people that were ineligible to vote cast ballots in Georgia in November 3rd of 2020. So everything that you've heard from Bill Barr to Brad Raffensperger and everyone else saying, you know, there's nothing to see here. Just give up the ghost here. Walk away from this President Trump. He was right to stand tall. He was right to stand up. President Trump was right. They were wrong.
Absolutely. Absolutely correct.
Okay, hang on. I just want to make sure we get this. Raffensperger knew the 364. The 364 was inaccurate, or it was ineligible. Did he also know that 67,000 vote, almost 20% of the ineligible voted? And can those ineligible, when they vote, can they do a contingent vote to say, hey, my registration was in a different county, but I can update it? Is that 67,000 a good hard number of people that should not have voted and the voted should not have counted, given their perceived ineligibility of the 364?
Yes, that's a clean number. And if he wasn't doing that kind of an assessment, he certainly presented as though they had on that call with President Trump, when the president was going through line by line. Well, what about this? What about that? And time after time was told, no, there's nothing to see here. There are no problems. We've looked at everything. I beg to differ.
They never.
Somebody's covering up something.
They never look.
Hang on, but it didn't. You didn't have to look. It's got to be on a dashboard, or this has to be somewhere. You had three prominent people. You had Raffensperger, but you also had the Bill Barr, who told Trump that he had gotten a report. He had asked the field office down in Atlanta of the U.S. attorney, and they had come back with nothing. Plus, you had Kemp, and I think even the attorney general. You had every senior elected official. All of those people, I might add, are all Republicans. So, Catherine, how could that possibly happen? This wasn't a number you had to dig out. That number should have been up in their grill, ma'am.
I would agree. As the stewards of the Georgia vote, that should have absolutely been front and center for them. But I will say that in our experience with the people that you just named, we've had less than accurate outcomes with their involvement and with their awareness and with their willingness to tell the truth. So this doesn't shock us, but when we put the timeline together, and it just rings in my ears when Raffensperger said, yeah, that looks about right. They should have been cleaning the rolls all along, when that was his responsibility. But he took a knee to Stacey Abrams, didn't do it. And, and here we are today in Atlanta, Georgia, because of it.
But hang on. As bad as, and that's a terrible answer, don't get me wrong, but as bad as saying, hey, 14%, move around the country, yeah, that's about right. That's if your second number was 0, I wouldn't have such a big problem with the 364 being a number. I don't like it. The problem is 20% of those cast a vote. That's the problem.
That's right.
So what is he?
That's right.
And here's what I don't understand also. We go through remember the whole fight over this, all the fighting we were doing was that state legislatures have to certify this. And there was an issue in Pennsylvania, in Georgia, in Arizona, in Wisconsin, right, and in Michigan about the certification process. And people actually, the state legislators wanted, in Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth, they wanted 10 days to kind of sort this thing out, just to go through it, to make sure that they had done the certification right. In the certification process, is Raffensperger legally liable because he certified this and then he went to the state legislature who accepted that as a certification by the Secretary of State, ma'am?
I don't know if he's legally liable or not. He is certainly responsible to the voters of Georgia, and he let them down in a big way. and misrepresented. It's a shocking truth that voter rolls are so poorly maintained.
It's the key.
That the facts of who voted, it's absolutely the key. The facts of who voted in 2020, let me give you a shocking statistic. As of March 1st, 2021, only 11 states had made their rolls public to confirm who had voted in 2020. It's why we had to drop our lawsuits, because there was not available data. So this whole idea that you can do hand recounts is ridiculous if you don't know who voted.
Exactly. The courts were demanding, Steve, that the courts were demanding everyone that was in court. Look, they were saying, and rightly, we don't want to see your statistics. We don't care about all the machines. We don't care about any of that. What we want to know is who voted and what were the ineligible votes. But the states couldn't tell anyone until the spring. So, in essence, Raffensperger certified it, and he didn't even know the answer. All he was like, okay, yeah, well, they say the count's right, so here we go. Look, no one ever went back and
this
looked.
This problem did not come overnight. Kemp was the Secretary of State for 8 years. That's why you see he's got no motivation to get to the bottom of it. Please explain, Catherine, why Stacey Abrams and Fair Fight, why would you even have a lawsuit about something as logical as just cleaning up the voter rolls to make sure that people that are registered to vote actually live where they say they're going to live, and so there's no doubt it's a legal, legitimate, certifiable vote? Why would somebody go to court to fight that, ma'am?
Great question, because when she ran for governor against Kemp and lost, she claimed that it was due to the rolls having been purged in a racially biased fashion. And so she sued the state on that account. Ultimately, the state won in 2021. Now they can resume cleaning the rolls. But in the interim, that challenge process that I described that we took on, they came after us and sued us. We're now headed to trial in October with Fair Fight and Stacey Abrams and Mark Elias over the same thing. Why, as you rightly say, why is it so bad to have accurate voter rolls? And the answer is because if you know where the sleeper cells are, you can easily subvert a process because our certification is set up so that no one ever checks.
Don't bury the lead. You got the head demon, Mark Elias. Mark Elias has had his hand in this? Mark Elias has had his hand in this?
Absolutely. In fact, when we went and announced that we were going to file those 364,000 challenges, he sent a letter from Perkins Coie at the time to every county in Georgia saying, if you take up True the Vote's challenges, we will sue you. So we followed up with the letter to every county saying, if you get sued, we will defend you. And here we are now in court these many years later. The gateway to election fraud is the rolls.
Amen. 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 Catherine, how do people get to you and to get to this information and following on social media? Because you're going to start early tomorrow morning. We want to track it throughout the day. So where do people go?
Absolutely. They can go to truethevote.org or find us on Truth Social or Twitter at True the Vote. But to see the report, and it's called The Aftermath, and it's in a special collection that we've put together on Open Ink. You can go to open.ink/Georgia, and you will see a timeline. You will see a host of documents, and we have a almost hour-long video that Gregg and I put together of our whole story in Georgia. And it's far more than just this. It's got a whole cast of characters with names that you will know that have not been telling the full truth.
Steve, we also, on Open Ink, we've also posted, it's a searchable engine. We've posted the entire Georgia voter history file on there for everybody to go look for themselves. You don't have to believe us. Go look for yourself.
Okay, I want everybody to get into this tonight because this is, when you go through this material, you realize when President Trump says the perfect phone call, it's pretty close to being perfect. And think about this. Think of what when you go through it and look and go through the timeline. When you hear Raffensperger's responses, Raffensperger's in on it. There's no doubt he's in on it. You couldn't. The 67,000 it sits up there as a burning issue. How did those people possibly vote? And more importantly, brother, how did you count them? How could these possibly be counted? They're ineligible. And you admitted they're ineligible. So how possibly could almost 18% of your ineligible registered, the registrations being ineligible, if they're ineligible, and you concurred with that in the room with them, that, yeah, that's approximately right. How could 67,000 possibly vote? This is what's driving people crazy. This shows you. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Steve, last piece. This is super important. They were in court. They were being sued over this issue. They were arguing our point that the rolls needed to be cleaned. It's just once the election occurred and they declared Trump lost, they certified the thing and never said to anyone, but the rolls haven't been cleaned. They're dirty. We need to look at them.
That's the key. That's what I'm saying. They're in on the fix. And Kemp's.
And they never thought we'd come back and look. Just like the surveillance video with the drop boxes, they never thought anybody would look.
Gregg, I think you mentioned she was a perfectionist. They never figured they were going to meet Catherine Engelbrecht. That's a tough one. She's tough as boot leather.
None of us did.
Don't get Catherine Engelbrecht. Don't get Catherine Engelbrecht in your business, man. I mean, in your things. She's a terror. Good Lord. How do the people get to Open Ink, Gregg? How do they get there?
It's open.ink. Open.ink. Look at the special collections. We've got one on Connick. We've got one on John G. Trump. And we've got this newest one on Georgia. There's a ton of information in there. We're going to be dropping 25 hours of video on top of it. It's a dynamic collection, and we're going to be dumping more and more and more data. We even have a special component being added to this. We have copies of checks that were paid to the mules. We have video of the mules cashing those checks, and we know where the money came from, and we know who it was, and that'll be coming soon as well.
And I want you to remember this. In fact, I'm going to cut this up and play it tomorrow during our coverage of President Trump. I want you to remember when President Trump goes down there, and Fani Willis and Roethlisberger, the whole crowd of them, I want you to remember this. And what's the reality there? Then you understand this has nothing to do with reality. They understand. This is why they fought so hard. They understand that Georgia was stolen. Full stop. Jack Smith, J6 that. Full stop. Joe Biden is an illegitimate president of the United States. I have said it from mid-November when he was declared the winner, all the way through when he took the oath of office to this very day, and I've not backed off 1 inch. You know why? The election was stolen. And it's people like Gregg Phillips and Catherine Engelbrecht have proven this time and again. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you for taking time. I know you're the lawyers today getting ready for tomorrow, so thank you. We'll follow this closely.
Thanks, Steve.
Remember, these two went to jail. They were thrown in a frickin' prison. They tried to break them. I got Joe Allen. Joe Allen, as much and as tense as today's been with everything, assassinations, a massive geopolitical capital markets thing in Africa, the world changing before us, the United States trying to be a still point in the turning world, what's happening in Georgia, with everything going on. What you showed me here this afternoon before he came on, do we have a clip on that? Are you going to play a clip or you just want to get into it? What was up on Fox? Later,
let's just go straight in, but we do have the screenshot.
Let's show the screenshot. Tell me what happened. Walk me through this.
Yeah, so this is an app. It's been out for a couple of weeks, but the app itself is, stunning enough. You've got basically, it's called Text with Jesus, and it's a very simple kind of clunky AI that allows you to text back and forth with Jesus, and the AI will respond in Jesus's voice. In text form, and there are other biblical characters, Peter, Paul, Mary Magdalene. And then, of course, if you turn the feature on, then you can talk to Satan himself. Apparently, Satan is described as being very polite and respectful. What's shocking to me, though, Steve, is that Fox News published that booster article. From beginning to end, Fox News is talking up this virtual Jesus. And it's not going to be just Fox News going forward. There will be many Christians and rhino Republicans and so on and so forth who push digitized religion down the public's throats. This is going to be definitely a trend going forward. Mark my words on that.
Okay, hang over a second. I'm going to hold you through the break because I want to get into this for a moment because it's quite serious. The book is Dark Aeon. This is kind of the tour de force preparatory work that you need to do. This is like getting your first day of college. You got to draw your textbooks. This is the textbook on all things transhumanism. In fact, it's the textbooks of transhumanism and the war against humanity. Guess what? We're on the side of humanity, okay? Shirts and skins. I guess we're the shirts. The bad guys are the skins. Okay, we're going to take a short commercial break. The author of this, and we're going to get into this digitized religion and the Murdochs pushing it. Why is that happening? Short commercial break. Be back in the War Room in just a moment.
Welcome to Virtual Reality Church.
DJ Soto's divine calling is to bring Christianity to virtual reality.
So we have worship music. I deliver a sermon. There's a prayer team. There's all these elements just in a Ready Player One, Matrix Inception kind of virtual world. God is passionate about you. In the physical world, when you go to church, there's sometimes trepidation, hesitation, because maybe people will judge me. But in VR, because of their avatar, there's a sense of anonymity. So with that anonymity leads to deep authenticity. So we're having these conversations that are just authentic and deep in VR.
DJ Soto even officiated the first baptism in virtual reality.
It absolutely felt real.
When she came out of the water, she was really emotional. She could hear her crying. That table where Jesus grabs it with one hand, he grabs it with the other, and he's like, you best back up. You best back up because you got in the way of me and my children.
But he believes the future of Christianity is virtual.
I believe God is in multiple dimensions. He's in a spiritual dimension, the physical, and even in the digital and virtual. Yeah, I think God's everywhere. And I think God's in VR.
Okay, walk me through this. And how's that tied to what Fox is pushing about this virtual Jesus that you can actually text or talk to?
Yeah, Steve, this is going to be, it already has begun, but it's going to be a trend going forward. You have a lot of religious leaders, religious communities, and to be frank, just a lot of opportunistic scammers who are trying their best to make this sort of digitized religious culture for Christianity. And it's across the world. It's something that we've covered quite a bit. For instance, the robots that are doing the prayers in mosques across the Middle East, including Mecca in Saudi Arabia. You've got Mindar, the Buddhist priest in Japan. You have in India robots doing the arti, the puja rituals, and then in America there are multiple AI programs that are made to basically answer your spiritual questions. They're made to be sort of virtual preachers and counselors, and there are at least two that I'm aware of, including the one that Fox is boosting. A chatbot that basically speaks for Jesus. And it's not, as you could imagine, Steve, it's not necessarily the biblical Jesus. They put words in his mouth. So, for instance, when asked about same-sex marriage, Jesus responded, the app Jesus, I guess we'll call it Christ GPT, responded that gay marriage is up to each individual to seek guidance from their own faith tradition and personal convictions, and to prioritize love and respect for all people regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity. And whether you think that that's appropriate or not, that's undoubtedly not what Jesus said. And it really raises the question, is any of this religiously valid at all? Even if it was accurate, is it really blasphemous to speak to an artificially produced Jesus chatbot? This is not going to go away. Yeah.
I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm just going to go out on a limb there. Yeah, I think it might be blasphemous since it's been programmed. The book is Dark Aeon. I tell you, we'll do another time when we get to the Aeon versus the Eon. Go to Amazon right now and order it. give people a heads up. There's already a fake out there. There's some people that I think are probably pro-transhumanists that are trying to mess with the sales of this. How can people make sure they're getting the right one?
You just have to check the author underneath. This scam is going at some other guy is like Marvin something or another, Marvin Frederick. He's probably siphoned off, I would reckon, probably a quarter of my sales at this point, and he's doing nothing but mailing out blank journals. So if you get it from Amazon, be sure to check and just make sure the name is correct on it. You can find it anywhere books are sold, and you can also get direct links. So you don't have to worry about it. You can get direct links at the top of my social media at JOEBOTXYZ, or at the top of my page, joebot.xyz, warroom.org under the transhumanism tab. Those will get you right there. But the topic of digitized religion and digitization as religion, that is the central theme to this book. That is the spiritual war against humanity.
No, it's huge. And by the way, the book is a still point in the turning world on this issue of transhumanism. That's why you got to get it. And most importantly, once you get it, read it. Okay. Thank you very much, Joe. Look forward to having you back. We're going to play cold open 1 second. I want to make sure everybody, look, we're trying to help set up an alternative economy, a patriot economy. One of the key companies of that is Public Square, Public SQ. You go there if you're an entrepreneur and you want to put your services or your products up. You go there, you can list, it's all free. If you're a person that wants to find out people that have your values and don't hate you and find out the products and services they offer, you go there also. So Public SQ, go to publicsquare.com to get all the information. Remember, it's advertiser supported. You don't have to pay a fee. It's totally free. Go immerse yourself in this information. Support the patriot economy today. We got a cold open for our brother that's in Maui right now. Let's go ahead and play it.
President Biden's visit to Maui to meet with the survivors of the wildfires and to survey the destruction was met by a largely positive response from local residents there. Newspapers in Hawaii highlighted the president's commitment to rebuilding the island. One woman who lost her home in the fire said, quote, "I'm glad he's here to see firsthand what has happened to our town. It shows he cares." The Maui fire chief said, quote, "I'm just grateful that he made the trip and showed immense support for our community." And here's the reaction from another resident.
He was so present with so many, one after one, like hundreds. He spoke with hundreds of people and hugged them and kissed their cheek and heard what we all had to say. And there were really, since this happened, there haven't been that many smiles in one place on this island. And it was profoundly touching.
Still, there are some real frustrations with the government's response as search teams continue to sift through the ashes looking for the missing.
Okay, welcome back. You know, this afternoon, I double-checked. The number went from 800, I think it was CNBC, and I think I've posted on Getter. It's at 1,100 missing still. I'm hearing from people there and other places it could still be this 1,300 number. This was a political Band-Aid, Nolan. Just give us your assessment. You're there. What's the general, particularly, I don't understand how we could be now going into 3 weeks on this, and we don't have some basic understanding. I still think there are 114 victims of, where the bodies are, where the people are, where the children are, not just how this happened, but just the recovery of the dead. How can we be so far into this and be talking about maybe 1,100, 1,300, or even 800, and there's only 100 that have been taken to the morgue and not even identified? I think the identifications at 20 or 30. Nolan, Chang.
Aloha, Steve. Thank you for having me on today. And yesterday, I kept talking about the power our governor has. And the reason why I say that is he has so many resources at his disposal. I'm going to run off some numbers for you. 494 FEMA agents, boots on the ground. 195 United States Army personnel assisting. 399 National Guard personnel assisting. 270 people from the Red Cross. 300 search and rescue people. 41 cadaver dogs. And all they come up with is 114 people that perished. And still no answers about how many children have perished, Of the 114, why can't you tell us how many children there are? Still no answers. Look at how the numbers are changing between the missing. All these resources at his fingers and then no answers. Like I said yesterday, he's sitting on a powder keg and the fuse is getting shorter and shorter. Sooner or later, the people are going to get upset. They want answers. They want the truth. They want accountability and they want closure. And he's not giving it to them. And that report I just saw, that lead in, so it's good. You're showing two sides of the story. So that was very positive. But everybody I've talked to, boots on the ground, they have a different opinion. We saw the lead in yesterday. People giving our Benedict Biden the finger. People yelling expletives at him. Why? Why are they upset? Well, look at how he's treating them. We judge a person by their actions or their inaction. Well, look at what he's done. Look at his attitude toward this devastation and all the despair and the destruction that he himself saw yesterday. He was asked 2 times before he came here what he thought about the Maui disaster, and he had no comment. He gives us $700 per person, one time, one lump sum, right? $700. Look at all the people coming across our border right now. They're getting a free flight to any state they want off of our tax money. They're given a gift card worth hundreds of dollars off of our tax money. They're given cell phones, right? Free cell phones. These are people that aren't even part of our country. They're being treated better than the people here in the most loved place. This place is even more beloved than Disneyland. Everybody who comes here, people from around the world love Hawaii. They love Maui. And when they see this devastation, and then when they see how our people are being treated or mistreated, not even giving proper answers, not giving closure, how do you think they feel? I'm getting a lot of feedback from a lot of people from around the world, and they don't like what they see. They're angry. Imagine how, again, the people here, how we feel. It's 1,000 times more devastating than anybody could ever imagine. And so what's happening, Steve? People from around the world who love our state, who love Maui, I'm telling you, they're banding together now. They're telling us that they'll do anything to help us. And so what we're trying to do is marshal all of these resources, right? People from around the world who will give anything to help us, and they already have. Look at the response. We've gotten all the supplies from the local people, but money has been given to a lot of our charitable organizations, right? Millions of dollars because they love Hawaii, but they don't like how we're being treated. They don't like all these questions that haven't been answered. And now they're going to be, I tell you, we're going to marshal their resources to help us put a spotlight on the quack. I call him Quack Green. Josh the Quack Green, our so-called governor.
Nolan, how do people get to you? Because tomorrow I want to go through, we'll make time. The footage we've been showing from these drones is unbelievable. This thing even looks more like Dresden and Tokyo, the firebombing from the air. And that's got to tie back to where these people are. I mean, we got a fundamental question right now. How many died? Where are they? How did they die? How many? And how many children? It's absurd. We could be 3 weeks in this, and we're talking about a spread of 800 to 1,300 and only 114, I guess, cadavers or pieces of cadavers, of which only 24 have been identified, and they haven't said how many children. We've got to bounce because I got Chad Moore here about Tucker. But give all the social media where people get to you, Nolan, to keep up with this.
Real quick, and the plot thickens because I just heard a rumor, and I'll confirm this tomorrow, that they found bodies floating at an island, the Lanai Island, just a few miles away from here. So again, the Quack Green, he knows all of this, but he's not saying anything. So other people are coming forward with this information. So how you can reach me. And so people think about that from now until I report tomorrow, and I'll try and get a confirmed answer. But you can reach me at Chanda21. Getter, Chanda21, Chanda 21. Thank you so much for having us on, Steve, and I'll try to get more answers for you tomorrow.
Nolan, great job. Great reporting. Tell everybody there we've got their backs, and we're going to be relentless on this, so thank you. This tragedy only gets worse every day. Think if you're one of the people there. It's absurd. This is absurd. There's something not right about this. There's something not right about it. I've been saying from the beginning, so you look at that devastation, you're telling me that's a fire? You're going to have to prove it to me. and you don't know where the bodies are, there's something not right here. There's something not right. I'm never wrong about that. There's something not right. Something not right. Chadwick Moore is the author of the book Tucker. It's an on fire bestseller. Give us a heads up tonight. What do you think? Give us a couple of minutes of Tucker, the invite to do this and there's no buzz. We just got a picture of Media Row out in Milwaukee with the Keebler Elves. There's nothing happening. Everybody's focused on Tucker tonight. 8:55 on Getter. We'll live stream. The whole team will be up. Chad, give us your thoughts.
Yeah, Tucker just posted a preview of what to expect. I think he's going to ask a lot about COVID. I think he's going to ask a lot about his former employer, Fox, and why Trump decided not to go with that debate. I think probably Trump sensed what we all knew was that Fox was trying to set him up. They just wanted those 8 or 9 other candidates to take pot shots at him. And it looks like it's going to be a long, in-depth debate. It was from Bedminster. It was pre-recorded. And a lot of people are excited to watch it. Again, it starts at 8:55.
You mean a long in-depth interview? This will be an interview with not a debate. There's going to be an interview with Tucker.
Right. I'm sorry.
How long? Do you know how long it's supposed to go for?
At least an hour. The debate goes for 2, so maybe they might try to go for the entire 2 hours. But that's really all the information I have on the exact content. They've kept a tight lid on it so far. You
tweeted out that no one at Fox is supposed to mention at all Tucker's name while anybody's there. Tucker and the president are going to be actually doing this. They're verboten to even mention his name.
That's right. So they can't. No one on Fox, not even the guests who are unpaid, guest commentators. No, they've been instructed they're not allowed to talk about Trump on Tucker, even in the context of the debate, even though it is the biggest thing happening in the news cycle right now. And of course, Tucker's name has been forbidden from the network since April 24th. The memo went out, cannot acknowledge him. Whenever he breaks news, they're not allowed to talk about it or acknowledge it, which is very frustrating, upsetting to a lot of people who are still there. Now, also, as I put on Twitter earlier today, Tucker's team, his inner circle, they spoke to me and they said that if Fox wants to keep harassing Tucker and his executive producer, Justin Wells, for them to bring it on. The exact words were that if they want a war, it will be ugly, and that's a guarantee. So apparently Fox behind the scenes has been trying to make life very difficult for Tucker and his team. They reiterate, we were with this network for over 15 years. We were great employees. We brought you the highest ratings in cable news history. We did absolutely nothing wrong. Let us be. We're not going to bite if you just leave us alone. But apparently Fox isn't happy with that. And it looks like Team Tucker is prepared to go to war and not back down. And according to them, it would get super ugly if that were to happen.
Tucker says, bring it. Amazing. Where did they get the book and how they follow you on social media, brother? Because you're on fire right now. This is your moment.
Oh, sure. Thanks, man. You can find the book. You go to tuckerthebook.com and you can find it anywhere you get your books. And I'm on Twitter at Chadwick_Moore. And Steve, again, you and your audience has been like the driving force behind this book's success, and it's been awesome.
Because you wrote a great book, and it's a great topic to write about, and Tucker's in his moment right now. He's a great man. He's in his moment. So it's all coming together, and people got to read the book. And that's why they're trying to suppress the numbers, because they don't want this thing to be designated as the bestseller it is. Chadwick, thank you so much. We'll be watching tonight.
All right. Thanks, man.
Okay. Once again, we'll be on Getter live. I think Grace and them on Getter, you can go see 8:55 at the Lays. I think they got some ideas about starting earlier. We'll be there. We're going to finish tonight with Unclouded Sky, one of my absolute favorites, and this is a favorite version, Betty Jean Robinson in the Nashville Grass. Also, I want to thank and appreciate Dr. Sean Rowland. Dr. Rowland has been he's been out in Maui. He helped with the kind of the air rescue to begin with, but Jace Medical, go to Jace Medical. Don't be in the situation, not with the Chinese Communist Party having leverage, but an emergency where you can't get your medicine. Get it in advance. Go to Jace Medical. This is fully approved state by state, but you got to go in and kind of get the information. Go to Jace Medical. It's absolutely incredible. And also, please don't forget Birch Gold. I need everybody up to speed on this. We're going to get a lot into both Jackson Hole tomorrow. We're going to get a lot into what's happening in Durban. So be back here at 10 o'clock. Also, we're going to have Georgia. We're going to have live coverage all day of President Trump's, the triumph of President Trump, not the tragedy, the triumph of President Trump. Like I said, For only third time in American history. First it was General Washington, then it was Abraham Lincoln, now it's Donald John Trump. The fate of one man is inextricably linked into the destiny of the nation. So we're going to see it all here tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Unclouded day, because every day in the war room is an unclouded day. Let's leave with that.
Oh, the land of an unclouded sky. Oh, they tell me of a home where no storm clouds rise. Oh, they tell me of an uncloudy day. Oh, they tell me of a home where my friends have gone. They tell me of a land far away, where the tree of life in eternal bloom sheds its fragrance through the uncloudy days. Oh, the land of cloudless days. Oh, the land of an uncloudy sky. Oh, they tell me of a home where no storm clouds rise. Oh, they tell me of an uncloudy day. Oh, they tell me that he smiles on his children there, and his smile drives their sorrows all away. And they tell me that no tears ever come again in that lovely land of uncloudy day. Oh, the land of cloudless days. Oh, the land of an uncloudy sky. Oh, they tell me of a home where no storm clouds rise. Oh, they tell me of an uncloudy day. Oh,